Hello, everyone, and welcome to another live stream here on Sports Bonanza John on YouTube and on Kick at Sports Kick John, doing some college basketball action here on this early afternoon on a Saturday afternoon. One of the 6 remaining undefeated teams in the country, the number 10 Nebraska Cornhuskers in Bloomington to take on the Indiana Hoosiers. We will preview this game momentarily. First of all, let's pray. Lord Jesus, thank you for this day. Thank you for doing your will among us, Lord, and please protect everyone involved in this game. Please keep everyone safe, Lord, and continue to look over all of us and do your will among all of us, Lord, as we ask and pray this in your name. Amen. Cornhuskers and Hoosiers, of course, Indiana fans still on cloud 9 for their football team, making it into the national championship game with their dominant win over Oregon. But now we change tune to college basketball here. The Indiana Hoosiers off to a 12-3 start this year. 3-1 in Big Ten play. Nebraska, on the other hand, ranked 10th in the country. They are 15-0 on the season, 4-0 in the Big Ten. They are one of just 6 remaining undefeated teams across the country. 4 of the other 6 in action today. 1 played last night. So Nebraska, of course, at 15-0, this is their best start in school history for the Nebraska Cornhuskers. Under Coach Fred Hoiberg doing a phenomenal job with Nebraska this season. Meanwhile, Indiana under first-year head coach Darren DeVries is off to a 12-3 start. They are 3-1 in Big Ten play. Indiana has won 4 in a row since their loss in mid-December to Kentucky. Indiana has conference wins over Penn State, Washington, and at Maryland this past Wednesday. They do have a conference loss at Minnesota back in early December. The Hoosiers are a team that scores 85 points a game. They have 4 double-figure scores led by their leading scorer at 19.5 points per game, Lamar Wilkerson. Coach's son, Tucker DeVries, averages 14.8 a game. Tayton Connerway averaging 12.9, and Reed Bailey averaging 10.5 points a game. So the Hoosiers put 4 in double figures on the average. Meanwhile, for Nebraska, they are a team that averages just over 81 points a game. They have 3 double-figure scores, led by Rink Mass, the leading scorer on Nebraska, 16.3 a game. Right behind him at 15.9 a game is Price Sanford and Braden Frager, averaging just shy of 12 points a game. So both these teams score in the 80s, so do expect to have a little bit of a higher scoring affair in this one today between the Cornhuskers and the Hoosiers. Cornhuskers looking to add to their record-breaking start as they will have this lineup masked, Byentunkel and Sanford up front with Jamarcus Lawrence and Sam Hoiberg in the backcourt. Indiana goes with Sam Alexis, Tucker DeVries up front with the 3 guards, Tayton Connerway, Connor Enright, and Lamar Wilkerson in the backcourt. We are just about set to go in Bloomington between the Cornhuskers and the Hoosiers. And set to jump it, the tip is controlled by Indiana, and we are underway. Earl Walton, Larry Scarrato, and Scott Brown, the officiating crew for this one this afternoon. And the first shot of the game on the way is good for Lamar Wilkerson, and that's how the game begins, 2-0 Indiana. Now Nebraska with their first possession of the game. This is masked on the outside. Nebraska working it around. Now a bounce pass inside. And now the jumper at the other end is up and good. And Nebraska with their first 2 points of the game. That was Jamarcus Lawrence with the jumper. And this game is tied at 2, 45 seconds in. With it on the outside now is Lamar Wilkerson for the Hoosiers. Off it goes to Connerway. Back to Wilkerson. Hoosiers working around the arc. 8 on the shot clock for Indiana. Still working it around the outside arc. And now on the drive, the runner, no good. But the follow is up and in by Sam Alexis. Good job attacking the offensive glass by Alexis, and he follows it up and in, and it's 4-2 Indiana. This is Mast getting inside and getting an easy layup as he got right through that Indiana defense. First 2 points for Rink Mast, and we're tied at 4. Hoosiers back the other way. And inside it goes to Alexis. May have been bumped, but no call. Back outside. Here's Enright. And now a three-pointer for DeVries is up and good. Tucker DeVries from long range. They're going to wave it off, however, as they're going to give Alexis a moving screen foul before the three-point shot by Tucker DeVries. And Darian DeVries, none too pleased with that call, and he's expressing his displeasure. So wipe out the three-point basket. Sam Alexis called for the foul. So we remain tied at 4. Back comes Nebraska the other way. That three-pointer's up and good from Burke Bayou-Tunsil. I hope I'm getting that name right. 7-4, Nebraska with their first lead. With it now is Connerway for the Hoosiers. And great anticipation and coming into the passing lane and stealing is Hoiberg. And the layup rimmed out by Nebraska, but Indiana cannot save it. It will stay with the Cornhuskers. Told you about the coaches, Fred Hoiberg, in his 7th year now at Nebraska. Has his team off to a 15-0 start this season. Again, that's the best in school history. Nebraska on the inbound. Mast with it on the outside. Mast looking. And try and look for some help. Gets Sanford. And now on the outside, a three-pointer's well short. Rebounded by the Hoosiers. First miss from the field for Nebraska. Connerway with it. Connerway sends it outside to a three-pointer rimmed out by Connor Enright, and it's rebounded by Nebraska. Just past the 3-minute mark here in the first half. 3 minutes into the first half. Hoiberg on the outside for the Huskers. And now Hoiberg will try a corner three. That's off the front rim. No. And offensive rebound. Put back. No good. And it's rebounded this time by Indiana. Fast pace so far in this one. Connerway on the outside. Finds Enright. Enright goes to the right side. Now to Alexis. Alexis guarded by Mast. Can't get free. Now bounce pass back outside. 10 on the shot clock for Indiana. DeVries with the runner inside. He can't get it to go, and it's out of bounds off DeVries, who he's adamant it went off Nebraska. Both teams do get a challenge this year if they don't agree with the call, but do you want to use it this early? Because if you do, and they are going to challenge it. Tucker DeVries was adamant that Nebraska knocked that out. And actually, I think he might be right looking at the replay. It's one of those new rules in college basketball this year. Each team gets a challenge. They're going to use this as the under-16 timeout with 16-14. Each team gets a challenge. If you win your challenge, you get to keep your challenge and use later. But if you do not win the challenge, you cannot challenge for the rest of the game, and you cost yourself a timeout. And actually, there's been a reversal. There's not going to be a challenge. Yeah, I don't know if you want to use it this early or not. So we're back to action here. Nebraska with it. Nice pass underneath, and we have a foul underneath the basket as the pass went inside to Sanford, and he was fouled on the play underneath, and Nebraska will inbound. Second foul on Indiana here in the first half. That one goes against Connor Enright, his first. Inbound it comes to the Huskers. Sanford with it. Back to Mast. Mast looking. Off to Hoiberg. Hoiberg on the outside. Pass outside. And a three-pointer is good. Jamarcus Lawrence with his first three of the game. And Nebraska takes a 10-4 lead. Hoosiers and almost a turnover there for Indiana. And now a three-point shot is up and good by Lamar Wilkerson. 10-7 lead for Nebraska. Lawrence with it for the Huskers. Back outside to Mast. Mast driving inside and got swatted and stripped and stolen by Indiana. Enright off to DeVries, and the Hoosiers reset as they will send it back outside. Connerway with it on the outside for the Hoosiers. 10 on the shot clock. The turnaround. And Wilkerson can't get a good look. 4 to shoot for Indiana. They're going to throw something up here. Connerway with the right hand. It won't drop. Rebound to Nebraska. Good defensive stand for the Cornhuskers that possession. Now Mast. Guarded by Alexis. Mast backing his way in against Alexis and puts up the turnaround shot and swishes it through. Rick Mast with his second field goal. He's got 4. 12-7 Nebraska. 14-15 to play here in the first half. Wilkerson on the drive. Wilkerson gets inside and threw it away. Nebraska gets the steal. And now a three-point shot on the way is too strong. Rebound pulled down by Indiana. Nebraska tried to get a fast break three-pointer there. And at the other end, Indiana trying to answer with a 3 shots well short. And back the other way comes Nebraska. Teams might need to slow down the pace here a little bit. Getting a little helter-skelter. Mast gets loose and lays it in. He's got a quick 6. And the Cornhuskers have their largest lead here of the half at 14-7. Up the floor for the Hoosiers is Enright. We haven't had a stoppage for about 3 minutes here. Here's DeVries back over to Connerway. Into the corner is Wilkerson, and Nebraska knocks it away. It'll stay Indiana ball, and we finally get our first timeout. At the 13:23 mark of the first half, good start on the road for the undefeated Cornhuskers. They lead at 14-7. Early 6 for 11 shooting start for Nebraska. Indiana on the other end, a 3 for 8 start from the floor. Nebraska 2 of 5 on their three-point attempts so far. Indiana 1 of 3. Nebraska's not been called for a foul yet. The Hoosiers have been called for 2. We told you coming in that Nebraska is one of 6 undefeated teams in the country. We've got 4 in action here coming up later on. The top-ranked team in the country, Arizona, they will be at TCU coming up later, trying to keep their undefeated streak alive. Number 2, Michigan tips off at the top of the hour at home against Wisconsin. Number 3, Iowa State. They play later on at home against Oklahoma State. That's going to be a tough game. Oklahoma State comes in 13-2 on the season. Number 4, UConn getting ready to tip at the bottom of the hour here. They'll be at home against DePaul. Of course, you got number 10, Nebraska here. Number 11, Vanderbilt, another one of the undefeated teams. They host LSU at the top of the hour. LSU will come in that game 12-3. And the other undefeated team in the country that nobody's really talking about was in action last night. That's the Red Hawks of Miami of Ohio, and they stayed undefeated with a win at Toledo last night. That moved Miami of Ohio to 17-0 on the season. They were in the others receiving votes, got 22 votes in the top 25 this week. They should up that again. We are just about set to resume out of the timeout here. Fred Hoiberg having a little bit of discussion with the officiating crew here. So out of the timeout, as we are set to resume here at the 13:23 mark of the first half, it's going to be Indiana ball underneath the basket. Hoosiers get it in. DeVries gets an open three out of the inbound and hits it. Tucker DeVries with a three-pointer. That's his first 3 points. 14-10 lead for the Cornhuskers. Here's Sanford. Off to Brandon Frager, who just checked in at the timeout. Now Rink Mast on the outside. Off to Frager. Frager nowhere to go with it. Somehow they get it over to Mast. 3 to shoot. Mast gets it off. I don't think Nebraska's aware of the clock. They don't get anything off. That's a shot clock violation. I think they lost track of the clock there. But nonetheless, a good defensive stand for Indiana. Hoosiers will bring it in. Connor Enright brings it up for the Hoosiers. Off to DeVries, who will try another three. That's an air ball from Tucker DeVries, and it's out of bounds. Back to Nebraska. Twelve and a half to go, first half. Cornhuskers bring it up the floor with Sam Hoiberg. Off it goes to Sanford. And we have a push. This will be against DeVries on the Hoosiers. That'll be his first, team's third. And the Cornhuskers will inbound. Here's Hoiberg. On the outside. Gives it over to Cale Jacobson, who checked in for Nebraska at the last timeout. Hoiberg has an open three, and that's short, and that will go out of bounds back over to the Hoosiers. Indiana brings it up the floor with Enright. Lamar Wilkerson now. And off the, I tried to get it over to excuse me. That wasn't Enright. That was Enright, and Enright couldn't handle it, and Nebraska misses a three at the other end. And back come the Hoosiers. DeVries with it now. Enright with it on the outside. Bounce pass is too far, and the Hoosiers able to save it from going out of bounds somehow. 7 on the shot clock. Open three-pointer is long. Rebound Nebraska. Huskers back the other way. Frager for three. That rims out. Rebound to Reed Bailey. Shooting has cooled off a bit here in this sequence. Dorn with it now for the Hoosiers. Back outside to Enright as we hit 11 to play in the first half. On the drives and nowhere to go. Instead, they find Dorn for a three on the outside, and it's good for Nick Dorn. 6-0 run for Indiana. They pulled within one, 14-13. And Nebraska answers at the other end with the three from Bryce Sanford. Sanford's first 3 points. Both teams have made 3 3-pointers in this game. 17-13 Nebraska. Enright. DeVries at the top of the key for three. Tries to bank it in, but a little bit too hard. And it's rebounded by Nebraska. Hoiberg brings it up the floor for the Cornhuskers. Outside to Jacobson. To Sanford. Good ball movement here for the Huskers. However, right as I say that, DeVries reaches in and strips it and gets a steal. Back come the Hoosiers the other way, and a foul on the way up. That'll be the first foul on the Cornhuskers, and it's a shooting foul. Brandon Frager called for the foul on Nebraska as we have hit The under 12 with 9:55 to play in the first half. Nebraska up 17-13, but the Hoosiers will have free throws out of the timeout. Got quite a big schedule in college basketball today, as Saturdays normally do. Got a big one coming up later on tonight, the Holy War on the basketball floor. Number 9 BYU at Utah in Salt Lake City. Coming up later on tonight. So let's take a look at some other matchups in the Big Ten today. Of course, we have this game, number 2 Michigan hosting Wisconsin. That game tips off just after the top of the hour. Number 5 Purdue in action at home against Penn State. That game will tip off 2 o'clock Eastern time. And Maryland making the cross-country jaunt to UCLA. That game coming up tonight, 8 o'clock Eastern tip-off for that one. And here the Cornhuskers lead it by 4, 17-13. Indiana will have free throws when we come back out of the timeout. Indiana looking to end Nebraska's record-long winning streak to start a season. Do want to tell you this is going to be a busy day on my live stream channel here. Got this game, and then I'll be back on at 4:30 Eastern time just prior to that for the opening game of the NFL playoffs, wild card weekend, the Rams and the Panthers. That game will kick off at 4:30. I will be back on the live stream then for that one. So following the timeout here, as we're set to resume, Indiana's going to have some free throws after the Nebraska foul. So 2 free throws here for Lamar Wilkerson. First is up and good. Wilkerson with 1 more coming. And that's good. 17-15 lead for Nebraska. 9:50 and counting to go here in the first half. It's Jacobson on the outside. Gives it off to Lawrence. Nebraska having a little bit of trouble. Good IU defense this time down the floor. Over to Jacobson. They have to launch a deep three-pointer with the shot clock running out, and it's good. Boy, that thing was just thrown up there, and it went in. And Nebraska leads 20-15. I didn't see who that was that got that. Might have been Jamarcus Lawrence, I believe. A three-pointer at the other end for Indiana, no good, but an offensive rebound and putback for Reed Bailey. And it's 20-17 now, Nebraska. 9 to play, first half. With it is Cale Jacobson for the Cornhuskers. Now to Frager. Jared Garcia, who just checked in at the timeout with the ball now. Shot clock running down for Nebraska, and they just get that off and miss it. Rebound pulled down by Indiana. They had a shot clock violation earlier, almost had another one there. Connerway on the outside for Indiana. Connerway with a dangerous pass, somehow saved for Indiana. 10 to shoot. And the leaner inside goes down and one. For Lamar Wilkerson, he's got 9 early points, trying to get in double figures with a 3-point play. Great job there by Wilkerson, is driving inside. And Lamar Wilkerson going to the line to try to complete the 3-point play and tie this game for Indiana. Lamar Wilkerson averaging 26 points a game in conference games this year. This free throw would tie it, and it does. Tied at 20. Nearing the 8-minute mark here in the first half. With it on the outside here is Nebraska. And now a deep three-pointer is good by Jamarcus Lawrence. That was way back there on the three-pointer. And it's 23-20, Nebraska back in front. Jamarcus Lawrence now with 11 in the first half. Hoosiers working it around the outside. Wilkerson with it now. Bounce inside to Reed Bailey, and we have a push on Nebraska. Which brings us to a timeout. 23-20 Cornhuskers, 7:31 to play in the first half. Despite these last 3 fouls for Nebraska, been a pretty clean game called. Just 3 fouls apiece for both these teams in the first half. Officials letting them grind it out here in the first half. Updating some of these scores for you. Tennessee and Florida, 14-14, 10.5 to play in the first half. A couple other ranked teams have tipped off. Number 20, Louisville, trailing at home to Boston College, 19-15 in the first half. And number 22, Kansas, an early lead at West Virginia, 15-13. Midway point of the first half in that one. So here it is, 23-20 Nebraska, 7:31 remaining in the first half. Cornhuskers led by Jamarcus Lawrence, 11 points. Lamar Wilkerson leading the way for Indiana with 10 in the first half. And the Hoosiers will inbound under the basket following the timeout. In it comes to Lamar Wilkerson, and we have an inbound violation against the Hoosiers. That's going to be their 5th turnover of the first half. Those are the kind of violations that'll give coaches headaches. Alley-oop underneath, a little tall for Cale Jacobson, and Nebraska will back it out and reset. Now Jamarcus Lawrence with it on the outside. Lawrence looking to drive, but guarded well. Lawrence gives it off. Shot clock down to 3. Here comes a three-pointer that's well short, and that's going to go out of bounds to Indiana. Another good defensive series by the Hoosiers, forcing Nebraska to take a unset three-point shot with the shot clock expiring. Both teams, after the hot shooting starts, have now fallen under 50% from the floor. A little bit of a shoe repair going on here on Connor Enright before we get this ball inbounded. DeVries inbounds to Enright, who will bring it up the floor as we've just passed 7 minutes to play in the first half. Enright over to DeVries. DeVries finds Wilkerson. Sends it back outside. Here's a three-pointer at the top of the key that goes. And that's going to tie the game again at 23. Indiana now 4 for 10 from three-point range. Bayou Tunsil way off the mark. A follow no good on the offensive glass. Rebound for Indiana. They have a chance to retake the lead for the first time since very early in this game. DeVries to Enright. Enright drives inside, lays it up and in, and Indiana takes the lead. 25-23 on the drive inside by Connor Enright. Under 6 to go, first half. Three-point shot on the way is good by Cale Jacobson, and the Indiana lead is very short-lived as Nebraska goes back in front. 26-25, Cornhuskers. Enright with it on the outside for the Hoosiers. Finds Sisley. Back to Enright. Enright drives, gets cut off, now turned around in the paint is good. Back-to-back jumpers in the paint for Connor Enright, and the Hoosiers are back in front, 27-26. Enright scored 16 in Indiana's win at Maryland earlier in the week. Layup good at the other end for Cale Jacobson, so he's got 5 off the bench for Nebraska. A back-and-forth battle. Here we go. 28-27 Cornhuskers. Lamar Wilkerson takes a three-pointer. That's good for Lamar Wilkerson. He's having a hot first half as he's got 13. 30-28 Indiana. And at the other end, we have got a foul. This one's going to go on Indiana. And Connor Enright right in the face of one of the officials. They need to hold him back. Enright gets called for his second foul, and he was right in the face of one of the officials after that call was made. Enright and Cale Jacobson exchanging some words after that play as well. Enright is still barking on the sideline as he goes to the bench with 2 fouls. Nebraska inbound. The teammates or coaches are going to have to go down there and calm him down. He is hot on the Indiana sideline. 10 to shoot here for Nebraska. Here's Mast, who's back in the game. Mast draws a double team outside to Jamarcus Lawrence, who throws up a three and misfires. Rebound, Indiana. That seems to have lit a fire in the crowd, as well as maybe the Indiana team. Double team here. Wilkerson has to send it out. DeVries for three off the front rim. No, but Indiana gets the offensive rebound and will try another three, and it's good. Nick Dorn with a three, and that leads to a Nebraska timeout with 3:54 to play in the first half, as Indiana has built a 5-point lead, 33-28 with 3:54 to play in the first half. Hoosiers looking to knock Nebraska from the ranks of the unbeaten. Hoosiers lead by 5. So the Hoosiers run here forced Fred Hoiberg to take a timeout. As Nebraska is now in a 5-point hole. Yeah, Connor Enright was very animated going to the sideline. He was not happy about being called for that second foul. I mean, he was literally right in the face of one of the officials. So Nebraska having to need to find a way here with the Hoosiers on a run here to take a 5-point lead, as we're down under 4 minutes to play here in the first half. West Virginia has come back to tie up Kansas in that game. 7 minutes to play in the first half. Nebraska shooting 11 of 24 for 46%. They are 6 for 14 from 3 at 43%. Indiana, meanwhile, back over 50% shooting. They're 12 of 22. 6 of 13 from 3 at 46%. Rebound edge for the Hoosiers, 13-10. Indiana being led by Lamar Wilkerson's 13 points in the first half. Wilkerson, the Hoosiers' leading scorer at 19.5 points a game. Nebraska's led by Jamarcus Lawrence, 11 points. Both players have the one in double figures here in the first half. And Indiana leads by 5. Indiana hitting 7 of their last 8 shots from the floor as the Cornhuskers bring it up out of the timeout. Mast with it for the Cornhuskers. And now here's Sanford driving inside, putting it up. Shot was altered. Nebraska gets the offensive rebound and now have an open three-pointer. That misses short. Rebound pulled down by Tucker DeVries of Indiana. Hoosiers by 5 with the ball. 3:20 to play in the first half. And now Nebraska knocks it away and gets a steal. Hoiberg. And here's the Cornhuskers. That's the 6th Indiana turnover of the first half. Outside it goes. Mast tries a 3. No. Tipped out, and the Cornhuskers get it on the offensive glass at a fresh 20. And inside, Brian Tunkel gets the dunk. And it's 33-30, Indiana. Hoosiers bring it back up the floor as Connerway, Over to Breed Bailey. Now it's Nick Dorn. Nick Dorn gives it off in the other corner. A couple dangerous passes there, and getting an underneath for an easy layup. Hoosiers took a risk with a couple dangerous passes, but they found the wide open Bailey underneath for an easy layup, and it's 35-30 Indiana. Nebraska trying to go inside, and the pass too high and out of bounds. Back it goes to the Hoosiers. Fourth Nebraska turnover of the first half. Connor Way bringing it up the floor for Indiana as we've hit 2 to play in the first half. Connor Way over to DeVries. DeVries gives it off, and a three-pointer all around the rim and out. And off Indiana, it's going to go to Nebraska. Boy, Nick Dorn had a good look there. It went around the rim, but just caromed off. And the ball's out of bounds to Nebraska. Up the floor come the Cornhuskers. Hoiberg with it. And we've a traveling violation against Nebraska. We'll give it back to Indiana. Fifth Nebraska turnover of the first half. And back comes Indiana as Connor Way brings it up the floor. Now DeVries with it on the outside. Bailey off to Wilkerson, lays it in. Lamar Wilkerson with 15 in the half for the Hoosiers. And they now lead by 7. Both teams have now had a 7-point lead in the game. It's both teams' largest. Mast draws a double team, sends it out to Lawrence for a wide open three that misses. Rebound Indiana. Under a minute we go. Connor Way inside for the layup. And the Hoosiers lead by 9 over undefeated Nebraska. The crowd at Simon Scott Assembly Hall comes to their feet. 35 to go in the half. Deep three for Nebraska. Not close. Rebound Indiana. And with only a 2-second difference, shot clock, game clock, the Hoosiers look like they're going to run it down for the final shot of the half. What an emphatic end of the first half for Indiana. Down to 15 seconds. Connor Way just dribbling at midcourt. Down to 10. Now Connor Way starts setting something up. Connor Way gives it over to DeVries. DeVries threw it away. Nebraska gets the steal. They got a second left. Half-court shot. That's good if it goes, and it's off the rim. And that's how the first half comes to a close. But Indiana with a 39-30 lead at the half on undefeated Nebraska. As the Hoosiers try to knock Nebraska from the ranks of the undefeated teams in college basketball, and they're 20 minutes away from doing so, leading 39-30 at halftime over Nebraska. Usually I sign off at halftime for a few minutes, but college basketball halftimes are only 13, 14 minutes. I'm actually going to stay on through the halftime here and look at the top 25 schedule across college basketball and look at all the Big Ten games taking place as well. And actually, let's run down this week's top 25 college basketball poll this week. The top teams still the same. 1, 2, and 3 have been pretty much there for the last month and a half as they are undefeated. Arizona comes in at number 1. Michigan comes in at number 2. But in this week's top 25 poll, Michigan is only 1 point behind Arizona for first place. For number 1, or in the first place, for number 1 in the poll. Iowa State, that is a very good Iowa State team, I think, that not a lot of people know much about. They're coming at number 3. UConn at number 4, Purdue at number 5. That top 5's been pretty consistent. Duke comes in at number 6. They've been right there as well. Houston at number 7. Gonzaga comes in at number 8 this week. BYU comes in at number 9, and rounding out the top 10 is this Nebraska team who's in trouble here at half in Bloomington. Vanderbilt, one of the other undefeated teams in the country, they come in at number 11. Vanderbilt comes in this afternoon's game against LSU, which is just about to tip off at 15-0 on the season. Michigan State, another Big Ten team, is in at number 12. They dropped 3 spots this week. Number 13 is Alabama. They host Texas later on tonight. Texas Tech at number 14. Arkansas at number 15. John Calipari's Arkansas Razorback team in there at number 15. Illinois, for Brad Underwood, they come in at number 16. I've seen them a couple times this year. They're a pretty good team that you're not going to want to face. Number 17, North Carolina. They took a little bit of a drop this week. Georgia comes in at number 18. Iowa at number 19, another Big Ten team, and they're in Louisville at number 20. Rest of the top 25, Tennessee comes in at 21, Kansas at 22, Virginia at 23, SMU in the poll for the first time. They're at number 24. They got a big game at Duke tonight, and UCF rounds out the top 25 poll in this week's AP Top 25. That other undefeated team I was telling you about, Miami of Ohio, they came into the week getting 22 first place or 22 top 25 votes. That's good for 30th. And they have had an undefeated week as well, so we'll see if they maybe not even, in fact, get in the top 25, but pick up some more votes this week. Looking at the top 25 schedule for today, number 1, Arizona. They're in action later on at TCU. That game's coming up at 4 o'clock Eastern. Number 2 team, Michigan. They are just about to tip off here in about 15, 20 minutes at home against Wisconsin. I saw Wisconsin earlier this year against Nebraska. Nebraska just ran Wisconsin off the floor earlier this year. Number 3, Iowa State. They host a 13-2 Oklahoma State team. That's going to be a very dangerous game today for the Cyclones. That game is coming up at 4 o'clock. Number 4, UConn in action right now, and they lead DePaul in the first half 10-5. That game just underway. Going to update that score here on the... That is a 10-5 early lead for UConn in the first half. Number 6, Duke. They host number 24, SMU at Cameron Indoor. That game's coming up at 2 o'clock Eastern. Big 12 battle just about to tip off in about 15, 20 minutes. Number 7, Houston at Baylor. Houston coming in at 14-1 on the season. Number 9, BYU and Utah. Talked about this a few minutes ago. The holy war on the basketball court. Number 9, BYU at 14-1 on the season, taking on the rivals from Utah. That's coming up at 10 o'clock Eastern time tonight. Another one of the undefeated teams in the country, number 11, Vanderbilt. They host LSU coming up here at the top of the hour in about 15, 20 minutes. Game I told you about just a few minutes ago, number 13, Alabama in action at home against Texas. That game will be at 8 o'clock Eastern time tonight. Number 14, Texas Tech out in Boulder to take on Colorado. Number 15, Arkansas at Auburn. That game's coming up later on. Number 17, North Carolina in action at home against Wake Forest. Number 18, Georgia will be down in Columbia to take on the Gamecocks of South Carolina. Louisville getting a battle from Boston College in the first half there at the KFC Yum Center in Louisville. Boston College leading that game 34-26. That game is approaching the end of the first half. So Louisville, the Cardinals, 20th ranked Louisville Cardinals getting a battle from the Boston College Eagles there in the first half. Just a minute to go in the first half in that one. Also, again, number 21, Tennessee. They trail the defending national champions from Florida 29-26. That game has 3:17 remaining in the first half. Number 22, Kansas, is now trailing West Virginia. They've been leading most of that first half, but West Virginia's come back to take the lead. 34-32, 3 minutes to go in the first half. And also coming up in a little bit, number 23, Virginia, hosting Stanford. That is the top 25 schedule across the country today. As in this one, Nebraska, one of 6 remaining undefeated teams in the country, but they are down at the half by 9 to the Indiana Hoosiers. 39-30, our halftime score. Indiana is leading Nebraska. We've got a top 20 matchup in college basketball tomorrow in the Big Ten. Number 16, Illinois, will be in Iowa City to take on the number 19, Iowa Hawkeyes. That game tips off at noon Eastern time tomorrow. And another ranked team in action tomorrow, number 25, UCF, in action at home against Cincinnati. That's a very good UCF team. And other action as well. Told you I'm update on my live stream schedule. Coming up later on today, we'll have the opening game of the NFL playoffs. That will be the Rams and the Panthers. That game coming up at 4:30 Eastern time. As the NFL playoffs are getting underway today, the Panthers, despite an 8-9 record, they won the NFC South. Actually ended up a 3-way tie for the conference title. The Panthers, the Buccaneers, and the Falcons. But the Panthers got the tiebreak and took the NFC South title, and so they get a host a playoff game against Matthew Stafford and the Los Angeles Rams coming into Charlotte. That game will be at 4:30. I, again, will be on the live stream for that opening game of the NFL playoffs. And possibly, this is not decided yet, possibly we'll have a college basketball live stream coming up tonight at 8 Eastern. That I have not decided on yet. Keep you updated. I will have that announcement for sure during that wild card stream between the Rams and Panthers on if I will be on for that college basketball live stream tonight. If I do come on the live stream tonight for college basketball, it'll be that Texas-Alabama matchup out of the SEC. But here in this one is 39-30. Let's run down some halftime stats in this game. Indiana shooting 58% from the floor. They went 15 of 26 in the first half. 6 for 14 from three-point range, 43%. And for Nebraska, they ended up shooting just 12 out of 30 as their shooting percentage really dropped there at the end of the first half. 40% shooting, 6 of 18 from 3 at 33%. Only 3 free throws shot in that first half. They were all for Indiana, as we only had 7 combined fouls called in that first half. Rebound edge for the Hoosiers, 16-13. Hoosiers turned it over 7 times in that first half. Nebraska turned it over 5. Individual scoring numbers in that first half for Indiana. Their leading scorer, Lamar Wilkerson, leading scorer on the season and leading scorer in this game. He put up 15 in that first half for the Hoosiers. 6 points for Nick Dorn. 4 points apiece for Connor Enright and Reed Bailey. 3 points apiece for Tucker DeVries and Trent Sisley. And 2 points for both Sam Alexis and Tayton Connerway. So the Hoosiers played 8 players in that first half, and every one of them scored in that first half. For Nebraska, they were led by Jamarcus Lawrence, 11 points in that first half. 6 points out of Rink Mast, 5 points apiece from Burke, Bayek Tunsil, and Cale Jacobson. I hope I'm getting his name right. And 3 points out of Price Sanford. As Nebraska also played 8 players in the first half, and only 5 of the 8 players scored for Nebraska. didn't get quite as much balance in the scoring column as Indiana did in that first half. As it is Indiana 39, Nebraska 30. As Nebraska, as I mentioned several times, one of 6 undefeated teams in the country, but they're in a little bit of trouble in Bloomington at halftime to try and go to 16-0 as Indiana leads 39-30. Well, we've been talking about a lot of men's college basketball. Let's talk about something I haven't talked about a whole lot about this year, and it's not intentional. It's just gotten by me. Let's talk about on the women's side in college basketball, and the defending national champions UConn Huskies still undefeated. They're at number 1. Texas comes in at number 2. South Carolina, UCLA, and Oklahoma round out the top 5 in women's. 6 through 10. Kentucky comes in at number 6. Vanderbilt men and women's teams both undefeated. Vanderbilt women at number 7. Maryland at number 8, Michigan at number 9, and Louisville rounds out the top 10. Boy, what a year it's been so far for Vanderbilt's athletic teams. Their football team came out of nowhere to have a phenomenal season. Did lose in their bowl game, but still a phenomenal season for Vanderbilt football. I don't know last time anybody said that. And the men's and women's basketball teams both here and going into mid-January still sitting there undefeated. So what a season out there in Nashville for Vanderbilt. And Vanderbilt also on their home football stadium this past week hosted the FCS championship game. Boy, what a football game that was. Won by Montana State, 35-34 in overtime over Illinois State. On Illinois State, a missed extra point, or a blocked extra point, that allowed Montana State to win that, and they took home the FCS championship for the first time in 42 years. So congratulations to Montana State, FCS championship. All right, and let's take a look right now also at the current Big Ten standings in men's basketball. Of course, you've got the undefeated Nebraska Cornhuskers at 15-0 on the season. They're 4-0 in the Big Ten. Also sitting 4-0 in the Big Ten are Michigan and Purdue. Michigan State sitting there at 4-1. Illinois and Indiana both come in at 3-1. Ohio State and Minnesota enter 3-2. That should be a lot better Minnesota team this season. They're 10-6 overall. Iowa, Wisconsin, UCLA are all sitting at 2-2 in Big Ten play. USC sitting at 2-3. Washington at 1-3. Rutgers and Oregon both sit at 1-4. And 3 teams still looking for their first conference wins: Penn State, Northwestern, and Maryland. Shocking, Maryland is in there at 0-4. That's a little bit of a bad year going on out there at College Park. Didn't expect to see that. For Maryland, they've been I won't say a constant threat to win the conference every year, but they've been a constant good team in the Big Ten. They're struggling a little bit out there in College Park this year. We are just about ready for half number 2 in Bloomington. Indiana leading Nebraska 39-30. As the team's getting their final instructions before we begin half number 2. Boy, Florida's jumped out now on Tennessee. Number 21, Tennessee. Florida up 41-28. That game is at the half. A big run there at the end of the first half in that one for Florida. Kansas has come back to take the lead at West Virginia 43-39, that game at the half. But here we go. Second half getting underway in Bloomington. The Cornhuskers inbound. Both teams going with their original starting 5. And Nebraska missing a layup, but getting the putback. And Nebraska getting the first 2 points of the second half. 39-32. Indiana's first possession of the second half. Connerway with it. A deep three-pointer is good from Lamar Wilkerson. That was way back there. He's got now 18, and the Hoosiers lead by 10, 42-32. Bayek Tunsil guarded by DeVries. And has it stripped by DeVries, and Indiana gets a steal. Connerway finds DeVries. Minute-old second half. Connerway on the outside. Bounce pass to Sam Alexis. That's going to be a charge against Alexis. He threw that arm out. That's going to be his second foul. Defender may not have been totally set, but when you throw the arm out like that, more times than not, it's a charge every time. So Nebraska catches a break there, and back down the floor they come. Atop of the key three-pointer is short. Rebound to Indiana as Tucker DeVries. Back come the Hoosiers. DeVries sends it back outside. Enright. Hoosiers working it around. Now a three-pointer in front of the Indiana bench is good. Tucker DeVries and the Hoosiers lead by 13, 45-32. Sanford with it for Nebraska. Sanford, the runner, and he gets fouled, but shot does not go. Sanford will head to the line for Nebraska. Foul is on Tucker DeVries. That's his second. First free throw attempts of the game for Nebraska as Bryce Sanford heads to the line for two. First is up and short. One more coming. Got that one. 45-33. Enright with it on the outside. Enright tries the lob. It's a little too high, but the Hoosiers able to keep possession. DeVries, Enright working it around. Wilkerson, a three and a foul. Wilkerson hits a three and gets fouled. A 4-point opportunity for Lamar Wilkerson. And the 4-point play is good. Hoosiers by 16, 49-33. 22 in the game for Wilkerson, and a foul on the drive by Jamarcus Lawrence. Gonna get Tatum Connerway with his first foul. And Nebraska will have two at the line. First of two on the way is good by Jamarcus Lawrence. Nebraska's had a couple close calls this year, but have been able to pull each of them out. They had a 1-point win over Kansas State on a neutral floor, as there's two free throws. They had needed a last-second buzzer beater to beat Illinois and then went down to the wire their last two games and picking up wins over Michigan State and Ohio State. But here, they are facing a 14-point hole. Jumper on the way. That's a miss. And out of bounds. It's off Nebraska. It's going to stay with Indiana, where Wilkerson with a rare miss on that jumper. The Hoosiers will keep it. Inbound it comes to Enright. Now Wilkerson. Wilkerson drives. Wilkerson goes inside, and they send it back outside to DeVries. DeVries on the drive, gets double-teamed and gets fouled. DeVries will have 2 free throws. Got Rink Mast on the foul. That's his first. Tucker DeVries at the line for 2. First is good. One more coming for DeVries. And good. 51-35. Indiana up 16. Just past 3 minutes old, second half. And coast to coast with this one and a foul. That's going to be the third foul on Sam Alexis. As Jamarcus Lawrence tried to take it coast to coast, and he will have 2 free throws. Lawrence just hit 2 free throws just a minute ago down at this end. First free throw is good. One more free throw coming for Lawrence. And good. 15 in the game for Lawrence now, but the Huskers still trail by 14, 51-37. Enright bringing it up the floor for the Hoosiers. Enright goes across the court, and a three-pointer no good. Rebounded by Rink Mast of the Cornhuskers. Lawrence masked for 3 at the top of the key. That's well short, but nice hustle by Lawrence for the offensive rebound for Nebraska. Mast now gets inside and was stripped, but Nebraska gets to the loose ball. And a three-pointer up and good. A big 3 for Nebraska. That was Byentunzel. He's got now 8, and Nebraska within 11, 51-40. Here's Enright at the other end for the Hoosiers. Off to DeVries. DeVries looking, finds Nick Dorn. Dorn back to Enright, back to DeVries. 5 to shoot for Indiana. DeVries drives. DeVries just left of the foul line. That's long. Rebound, Nebraska. They can get this back down to single digits. Here's Hoiberg. And we've got an offensive foul. That one's going to go on, looks like, Byentunzel. And we're at the under 16 with 15:32 to go. Hoosiers leading 51-40 over Nebraska. So Nebraska with 7 turnovers now after that offensive foul. Buyuk Tunjul, I guess is the correct pronunciation. Berka Buyuk Tunjul. Okay, I will try my best to do that. 51-40 here for Indiana. Nebraska still down at 40% shooting. Indiana still shooting very well, 56%. They're 50% from three-point range. This is a tough stretch for Indiana looking at their schedule ahead. This is the first of 4 consecutive games against ranked opponents for the Hoosiers. They've got this one here today. Then Tuesday, they head to East Lansing to take on the Michigan State Spartans. They're back at home next Saturday against the 19th ranked Iowa Hawkeyes before hitting the road to take on number 2 Michigan a week from Tuesday. So this is a rough 4-game stretch here for the Hoosiers. And then after that, they have a game at Rutgers, and then will be at home against their arch rivals, Purdue. So this, by far, the toughest part of Indiana's schedule this year. And they're off to a good start on this one, leading Nebraska by 11. Still 15:32 to go. Hoosiers bringing up the floor. This is Enright. Off to DeVries. Working around. This is Dorn. Enright. Nice pass inside and a foul. They tried to get it to DeVries inside. Fouls coming in bunches here in the second half after we only had 7 combined fouls in the first half. Reed Bailey heads to the line for Indiana. First is good. One more coming for Bailey, and it's good. Hoosiers a perfect 8 of 8 from the free throw line, and they're back up 13, 53-40. And we've got a hand check foul on Indiana. We've already had 2 more fouls called in the second half, first 5 minutes, than we had all first half. Nebraska to inbound. Rink Mast with it on the outside. And now gives it off, and the jumper inside is good for Nebraska. 53-42. Jamarcus Lawrence with that jumper. He's now got 17. DeVries goes inside. Nice bounce pass. And a corner three-pointer is good again. Now they say his toes were on the line. They're calling that a 2 for Ducker DeVries. They say his toes were on the line. 55-42. They may look at that at the timeout. Hoiberg at the other end. Layup, no. And a blocking foul underneath. That's going to go against DeVries, I think. And Darian DeVries saying he thinks that should have been a charge. I think they got the foul on the takedown on the rebound attempt. So that is 16 fouls. So Nebraska will be shooting free throws for each foul here on out. And we still have 14-18 in the second half. Rink Mast with it for Nebraska. Mass sends it outside, top of the key, three-pointer by Hoiberg, and a big three for Nebraska right there. As Sam Hoiberg hits the top of the key three to cut it to 10, 55-45. And that's going to be a push-off. That's 4 now on DeVries. He pushed off. Tucker DeVries just got called for his 4th. He pushed off with that off arm. So foul number 4 on Tucker DeVries. And he'll have to go to the bench. Nebraska, a chance to get this down to single digits again. Mast. Turns right hand hook shot too strong. Rebound Indiana. Oh, we have a loose ball foul on the Hoosiers. Nebraska will be at the line. Oh, and now the call's been reversed and it's going to go against Nebraska. The officials got together and overturned the call, and instead, they're going to get the 3rd foul on Sam Hoiberg. Jumper at the other end, no good from Lamar Wilkerson. It's rebounded by Nebraska. Another chance to get it to single digits. Three-pointer on the way, short. Rebound Indiana. That was a little quick. Wilkerson for 3, short. Rebound Jamarcus Lawrence of Nebraska. 13 to play, second half. And the Cornhuskers will slow it up this trip. Mast. Lawrence for 3. Got it! Jamarcus Lawrence with a 3, and this is a 7-point game. Lawrence now with 20. Enright on the drive, out in the corner, and a three-pointer. No! Rebound Nebraska. A chance to get even closer. Three-pointer at the top of the key is good! And this is a 4-point game. Timeout, Indiana. And the Cornhuskers are on the comeback run here as they've scored 9 straight to pull back within 4. 55-51. Indiana's lead down to 4 as the comeback Huskers are at it again. Still 12:25 to go. Big story here for Indiana. Tucker DeVries with 4 fouls as he is saddled on the bench. As it has gotten very interesting in Bloomington. Updates on a couple of those other scores. Louisville's come back to tie up Boston College at 41 in the second half. Just getting underway in Ann Arbor between Wisconsin and second-ranked Michigan. Also just getting underway, LSU and number 11 Vanderbilt. Vanderbilt, another one of those undefeated teams. Number 21 Tennessee's getting walloped in Gainesville to Florida. Florida leading 48-30 in the second half. Florida, the defending national champions. Little bit of a down start to this year, but boy, they are taking it to the Tennessee Volunteers this afternoon. Connecticut leading DePaul 33-25. Baylor's jumped out to a 14-6 lead over number 7 Houston. Kansas still leading West Virginia 52-49. Tight one there in the second half. And here, Nebraska on the comeback trail. They've pulled within 4 here. With still 12:25 to go, looking to stay undefeated and move to 16-0. Hoosiers bringing up the floor. Connerway across the court and a bad pass. Nebraska on a steal. Layup, good. This is a 2-point game. Jamarcus Lawrence with 22. 55-53. That's a new career high for Jamarcus Lawrence, 22 points. Indiana needing a basket here to stop the momentum. The run now 11-0. There's a missed layup. Darian DeVries thought there was a foul, but no whistle. Nebraska can tie or retake the lead inside. Sanford off the glass, and this game is tied at 55. 13-0 run for the Cornhuskers to come back to tie this game after trailing by 16 earlier in the second half. Wilkerson with it now for Indiana. To Connerway. Connerway on the drive. Connerway gives it off and a dunk to Reed Bailey. Nice feed to Bailey, who finishes it off with a slam. And Indiana back in front, 57-55. Lawrence with the ball for Nebraska. Finds Mast inside. Mast guarded by Bailey. Mast the turnaround with the right hand. That's a little bit of a mismatch right there. Mast with the jumper. 57 apiece. 10.5 to play. Three-pointer on the way for Indiana. That's off the mark, but an offensive rebound, and the Hoosiers have a fresh 20. Enright on the outside. Enright drives. Enright gets cut off. Now sends it outside to Connerway. Connerway lost it momentarily. They get it off and miss a 3. Rebound, Nebraska. They can retake the lead for the first time since the first half. And the layup is no good. That was a little bit short. Rebound to Indiana. Nebraska on a 24-8 run. Wilkerson on the drive. Got cut off, but got fouled. 9:39 to go. Huskers and Hoosiers tied at 57. Nebraska's up their shooting percentage. They're now at 47%. 21 of 45. They're 10 of 25 from three-point range at 40%. Indiana's shooting has dropped to 50% after being in the mid to high 50s. They're 20 of 40 from the floor, 9 of 22 from 3, 41%. Nebraska's actually taken the rebound edge here, 22-21. Hoosiers have turned it over 10 times. Nebraska's turned it over 7. The Cornhuskers looking to battle back. They were down 16 earlier in the second half. They have battled back to tie this game with 9.5 to go. How long will Coach DeVries keep Tucker DeVries on the bench? Again, Tucker DeVries has 4 fouls for the Hoosiers. So 57 apiece. As we are set to resume here following the timeout. Sorry, folks, I'm updating some of these scores because the gap here. When Nebraska went down 16 earlier in the second half, it looked like they were finally going to have one in the loss column for the first time this year. But what a battle back by Fred Hoiberg's Nebraska Cornhuskers. 2 free throws here for Lamar Wilkerson. First is up and good. New career high for Wilkerson, 23 points, make it 24 as he hits the second free throw. And the Hoosiers are back in front, 59-57. Lawrence off to Brandon Frager, who's back in the game. Braden Frager. Sam Hoiberg now. Now to Mast. Mast backing his way in. Mast the turnaround. That's good. That gets Rick Mast in double figures with 10. And the Huskers tie it at 59. Enright. Oh, Wilkerson fakes the 3 and now will take the 3 and it's good. It was a great fake move and Nebraska bought it. Wilkerson with 27. 62-59. Hoosiers. At the other end, Mast trying to answer with a 3. That's too strong. Rebound, Indiana. Chance to build the lead to 5 or 6. Enright. Backs it out. Enright. And here's another 3-pointer. That's short, but we have a foul on Nebraska again on a long-range shot. That is the second time in this game that Nebraska has fouled a shooter on a 3-point shot. Lamar Wilkerson made it the first time, but misses this time. It has 3 free throws. First is good. What a game for Lamar Wilkerson this afternoon for Indiana. He's now at 29 points. This to build the lead back to 6 for the Hoosiers with 8:27 to go. Wilkerson a perfect 8 of 8 from the free throw line. Now make it 9 of 9. 65-59, 30 points for Lamar Wilkerson. Nebraska back in a 6-point hole, and the crowd at Assembly Hall rises again. Outside. 10 to shoot for Nebraska. This is Sanford. Sanford puts up a three and hits it. Bryce Sanford with a three-pointer and pulls Nebraska back within three again. 65-62. Wilkerson on the drive. He has it blocked, and Nebraska saves it from going out of bounds. A three for the tie again is good. Jamarcus Lawrence with a three, and Nebraska scored 6 straight to tie it again. Lawrence with 25 in the game. And a bad pass, and Indiana turns it over. The runner in the paint, no good. The follow, no good either. Rebound, Indiana. Boy, that's a missed point-blank follow-up that Nebraska just missed there. Enright. And that ball is off Indiana. They turn it over, and back it goes to Nebraska. Back-to-back turnovers for the Hoosiers. 7:08 to play. Nebraska and Indiana tied at 65. It appears we are headed down to the wire in this Big Ten battle in Bloomington. Another one of the undefeated teams in the country. I've been telling you about Vanderbilt. They have jumped out to a 39-22 lead on LSU. But Indiana has been a little careless with the ball the last couple possessions, as there's now 12 turnovers in the game on the Hoosiers. A classic Big Ten battle here. Again, we told you the stretch that Indiana's on. This is the first of 4 consecutive ranked opponents on Indiana's schedule here over the next couple weeks. So Indiana wants to get off to a good start with that stretch of games coming up. Nebraska's schedule not as difficult, but when you've got that bullseye on you as being undefeated, you're going to get each team's best effort. They head back home to take on Oregon on Tuesday. Then they're at Northwestern next Saturday. Those are 2 of the bottom teams in the Big Ten right now. And then they come back again and host Washington. So again, not as tough of a stretch, it doesn't appear, for Nebraska coming up as Indiana does. Following the timeout, it's Nebraska ball. On the outside for Nebraska is Sanford. Sanford drives, bounce pass, 3 for the lead is short. Rebound, Indiana. Hoosiers looking to retake the lead as Enright has it for the Hoosiers. 6.5 to go. Tied at 65. Enright with it. Hoosiers working it around the arc. 10 to shoot for Indiana. Enright to Wilkerson. Wilkerson gets free. Wilkerson with 2 to shoot. Is going to have to put it up, and it's a turnover. It was going to be a shot clock violation anyway. Nebraska, here's a three for the lead. No. Offensive rebound for the Cornhuskers. Putback is good for the lead. Braden Frager got the offensive rebound and putback, and Nebraska's taken the lead. 67-65, and a timeout called by Indiana. Nebraska trailed by 16 earlier in the second half, and they've come all the way back to take the lead. Indiana down to one timeout here with 5:49 to go. And again, Nebraska's been making this run with Tucker DeVries on the bench for Indiana with 4 fouls, but he's coming back out now to try to avoid that 5th foul. So if you're Nebraska, you see DeVries back in there. When you're back on the offensive end, do you try to go right after him? Try to pick up that 5th foul. Hoosiers have the ball. Here's Enright off the inbound. Wilkerson with it. DeVries. Bounce pass inside. Another Indiana turnover. 14 in the game. Layup is good for Frager. And the Cornhuskers go up by 4. 69-65. Hoosiers need a basket here. Underneath a but a foul is called on Nebraska. Boy, the Hoosiers have turned it over 4 times in the last 5 trips down the court. Here's Connerway at the line. First trip there today. First is good. Dating back to earlier this half when it was 49-33 Indiana, Nebraska's outscored Indiana since then 36-17. Connerway 1 of 2 as he misses the second. 69-66 Nebraska. 5 minutes to go. Here's Lawrence. Lawrence with it. Lawrence drives. Lawrence gets cut off. Lawrence up and under, and he's fouled by Connerway. And Jamarcus Lawrence will head to the line for the Cornhuskers. First free throw up, no good. Nebraska now 5 of 7 from the free throw line. One more coming. Got that one. Lawrence now with 26. The Nebraska lead is 4, 70-66. DeVries with it. Finds a man in the corner for a 3. That's too hard. Offensive rebound for Indiana. Enright thought about the 3. Now will drive inside. Put it up off the glass. Way too hard. Rebound pulled down by Nebraska. And then we have a foul on Indiana on an over the back. Connor Enright picks up his 3rd, and Nebraska going right back to the free throw line. Cale Jacobson heading to the line for the first time. He's only a 50% free throw shooter this year. For a 1-and-1. Drills that one, though. 4:32 remaining. This second free throw for a 6-point lead. And good. 72-66 Nebraska. 4.5 to go. Here's Enright. Enright with it. Bounce pass. And the Hoosiers have to kick it outside. Here's DeVries. Working around. Here's a three-pointer. Round and out. Rebound, Nebraska. Up by 6 with the ball. 4 minutes to play. Lawrence with it for the Cornhuskers. To Rink Mast. Mast trying to back his way in. Mast draws a double team. Sends it outside. Frager tries a three, and it is good by Braden Frager. And Nebraska goes up by 9. What a second half comeback by the Cornhuskers. Indiana trying to get a bucket to answer, cannot, but it's kept alive on the offensive rebound by Bailey. And now Wilkerson takes a two-pointer. That's short. DeVries, the offensive rebound. He'll put it back up and score. 75-68. Does Indiana have one run left in them? We're down to 3 minutes to go. A three-pointer again by Frager. This one's no good. That was a little quick. Rebound to Indiana. It's Wilkerson. Now on the drive. DeVries gets cut off. Back outside to Wilkerson. Finds Enright. Wilkerson, a deep three from the top of the key. No good. Rebound, Nebraska. That was way back there. Nebraska going to work on a little bit of the clock this possession. Here's Mast with it. Mast on the drive. Mast lost it. And a foul on Indiana after Nebraska got to the loose ball. Nebraska will have free throws on the other side with 2:16 to play. Nebraska down 16 earlier in the second half has come back to take a 75-68 lead. And they will be at the free throw line. You're seeing exactly why the Cornhuskers are 15-0 this season. They have done what they could not do last year, and that's win the close games. They were 0-6 last year in games decided by 3 points or less. This year, they are 4-0 so far. So the ability to win the close games this year is why Nebraska is what they are, and that's 15-0, and a little over 2 minutes away from making that 16-0 with a valiant second half comeback. Game not over yet, though. Someone chiming in on the live chat. Let's go Michigan. Well, looking good so far. Up 8 on Wisconsin. Just under 6 minutes to go in the first half in that one. Michigan trying to stay undefeated just like the Nebraska Cornhuskers. As is Vanderbilt. They've hung 52 in the first half on LSU and leads 52-34. Number 1, Arizona, another undefeated. They're at TCU later. Number 3, Iowa State. They host Oklahoma State later. So here with 2:16 to play, Nebraska a 75-68 lead on Indiana. And Nebraska at the line here for 2 free throws for Braden Frager. First is good. One more coming. And he's got it. 77-68. Indiana needs to score pretty much every trip down court. DeVries tries a 3, and it's good. Tucker DeVries hits a 3 to make it 77-71 as we hit 2 minutes to play. This game not in the bag yet for Nebraska. Lawrence with it on the outside for the Cornhuskers. 10 on the shot clock. Lawrence. And a three-pointer wide open and good from Rink Mast. The 14th three-pointer made today by Nebraska. 80-71. Quick 3 at the other end is an air ball. Indiana is able to get to the loose ball, and the putback is good. 80-73, but time starting to be a factor as we're down under 120. Frager with an exclamation point dunk as he drove inside. And Frager gets the dunk down, and that probably is going to be your dagger. Final minute. DeVries for 3. That's no good. Rebound to Nebraska. And what a second half rally by the Nebraska Cornhuskers as we have seen a 25-point swing in the second half. Nebraska trailed 49-33 in the second half, but now lead it by 9 as the Nebraska fans who made the trip to Bloomington all come to their feet. Three-pointer no good with the shot clock running down. Down to 25 seconds. Bailey back outside, and that ball knocked out of bounds by the Cornhuskers with 20 seconds to go. So Nebraska, boy, a 52-point second half for the Cornhuskers. Outscoring Indiana by 18 in the second half. Bailey gets that shot to go, makes it 82-75. And Nebraska almost turned that over as Lawrence went crashing into the first row. That's going to be a foul on Indiana. It's on Wilkerson. They'll send Jamarcus Lawrence to the line. So a career high performance as Lawrence missed the free throw. Career high performance today for Indiana's Lamar Wilkerson is going to end up a little bit short as far as a win goes. Looking ahead, 2 weeks from this Tuesday, Nebraska and Michigan will meet in Ann Arbor. The question is, will both teams still be undefeated at that point? That's an easy layup for Wilkerson. He's now got 32. And the final timeout called by Indiana with 9.5 seconds to go. 83-77. Nebraska. Yeah, Tuesday, January 27th. Nebraska at Michigan. So we'll definitely have to see down the road, as if both teams are still undefeated by that point. Ooh, what a matchup that would be. If Nebraska gets to that game undefeated, they will be 20-0 going into that game. Again, Nebraska's schedule not as difficult coming up. You've got 3 of the bottom teams in the conference coming up. Home to Oregon, at Northwestern, and home to Washington. Meanwhile, for Indiana, if you missed it earlier, this is the first of a gauntlet of a schedule coming up. They're going to fall short here to Nebraska, it looks like. Tuesday, they travel to East Lansing to take on number 12 Michigan State. They're back at home next Saturday against number 19 Iowa before they head to Michigan a week from Tuesday. The first of 4 consecutive ranked opponents for Indiana, and they're going to fall short in this one, it looks like. Although the Nebraska turns it over on the inbound, a 3-pointer rimmed out, offensive rebound and a foul. Boy, that's not what you want if you're Nebraska. And DeVries had a good look at the 3-2. It just rimmed out. Bailey will head to the line for Indiana. 5.7 seconds to go. First free throw around and out for Reed Bailey. One more free throw coming. And missed it. Rebound to Nebraska. And they are going to dribble this out. And the Cornhuskers stay undefeated as they go to 16-0 as they defeat Indiana 83-77, the final score. Nebraska now 16-0, 5-0 in the Big Ten. Indiana will fall to 12-4 overall, 3-2 in Big Ten play, and a second half rally that saw Nebraska come back from down 16 in the second half to come back and stay undefeated. Take a look at the final numbers from this one. Nebraska ends up shooting 48% from the floor, 29 of 60. 14 of 34 from three-point range at 41%. They were 11 of 14 at the free throw line for 79%. Indiana ends up shooting 46%, 26 of 56 from the floor, 11 of 30 from three-point range, 37%. They were 14 of 17 at the free throw line for 82%. Rebounds were tied at 31, but here's the big factor, the turnovers. Nebraska turned it over 8 times. Indiana turned it over 14 times. There were a lot of critical turnovers in the second half. There was one stretch in the second half where Indiana turned it over 4 of 5 possessions. Those turnovers allowed Nebraska to get back in the game in the second half and eventually take the lead and not relinquish it after they got the lead back. Individual scoring in this one for Nebraska, they were led by Jamarcus Lawrence, 27 points. He was one of 4 Cornhuskers to reach double figures. Rink Mast with 13. Bryce Sanford added 12, and Braden Frager, I'll get it off, had 11 off the bench for Nebraska. Other scoring 8 points for Bayou Tunzel, 7 out of Cale Jacobson, and 5 out of Sam Hoiberg. For Indiana, they were led by a career-high 32 points from Lamar Wilkerson, albeit in a losing effort. 17 out of Tucker DeVries, 10 points off the bench for Reed Bailey, the 3 in double figures for the Hoosiers. 6 points out of Nick Dorn, 4 out of Connor Enright, 3 points apiece from Tayton Connerway and Trent Sisley. and 2 points from Sam Alexis. All 8 players for Indiana that played scored. Nebraska had 7 of their 8 that saw action score. So again, Nebraska wins this one 83-77 to move to 16-0 on the season, 5-0 in the Big Ten. Indiana falls to 12-4 overall, 3-2 in the Big Ten. Nebraska next in action on Tuesday to try to stay undefeated as they take on the Oregon Ducks. Indiana also in action on Tuesday as they travel to East Lansing to take on the Michigan State Spartans. That's going to wrap it up on this live stream. But again, I will be back later on at 4:30 Eastern for the first NFL playoff game, the Rams and the Panthers, to kick off Wild Card Weekend in the National Football League. That game at 4:30. I will be on just prior to kickoff of that Rams-Panthers game to get the NFL playoffs underway. Appreciate all of you joining me again. My name is John Sportsbonanza John on YouTube. If you do like my content, would appreciate a like and subscribe. Also on Kick at Sports Kick John. You can follow me there. You can also follow me on Twitch at Sport Guru John. Back with you at 4:30 for NFL playoff action, the Rams and the Panthers from Charlotte. Hopefully you can join me then. And I'll talk to you again. Good afternoon, everybody.